Look closely because this is a once-in-a-lifetime sight. This is the big lift for the megaton IBA Proteus ONE system, being installed in the region's first Proton Therapy Center. This moment represents another milestone in transforming patient care at the University of Kansas Health System.
You're looking at one of two enormous pieces of technology that make up the heart of Proteus ONE. This is a 75-ton gantry. It took 10 minutes to hoist the gantry into the air and 5 hours to position it perfectly to fit into the pit with only an inch to spare on all sides.
Hello and welcome. I'm Bob Page, President and CEO of the University of Kansas Health System.
And I'm Tammy Peterman, President of the Kansas City Division. Welcome to the Big Lift. Over the next half hour, we're going to show and tell you all about this long-awaited Proteus ONE arriving at our campus. We'll explain what it means to patients and what happens next.
It was a true spectacle rolling into town on April 6th. You may have seen it on the news, but the journey actually began in Belgium when the gantry and a 55-ton cyclotron were loaded onto a ship, crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and arrived at the port in Houston in February. In late March, it began the 10-day-long and winding road to Kansas.
To make the trip, it took 25 tons of packing materials to protect the precious gantry and the cyclotron for a total weight of 155 tons. The sheer size and weight created logistical challenges that required police escorts and various Department of Transportation motorcades, a fueling truck, and utility crews to remove and replace power lines along the way.
But what's even more impressive than the weight and its arduous journey is what this technology can do for our cancer patients. It means the end of a proton therapy drought in the Midwest and the beginning of increased access to the most advanced, efficient radiation cancer treatment available. To tell us more about the power of proton therapy, we go to Jessica Lovell, who is standing by with Vice President of Clinical Services and Physician-in-Chief of the University of Kansas Cancer Center, Dr. Terry Sue.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, we get a chance to catch up with Dr. Sue in between his surgeries, so thank you so much for taking time. I know you're busy. Yes, so a couple of questions for you. So we know this is a really exciting moment for a lot of people, but how do you feel knowing that proton therapy is really starting to become a reality?
Well, it's been a very rewarding last few years in building and planning and developing this process, and it's finally coming to fruition. We're excited. It's been a landmark milestone part of the Cancer Center journey so that we can actually bring another form of therapy to our patients so they don't have to travel elsewhere, and we'll have the full armamentarium to be able to battle these terrible cancers.
Okay, so explain in layman's terms what a gantry and a cyclotron do.
Sure, a couple things. A gantry is the device which is the beam of protons is directed in very, very specific and precise ways to the specific areas that need to be treated. Part of the advantage of this technology is that the area is very aggressively treated, but the area around that area is spared a lot of the side effects of the radiation, and big advantage for this type of radiation. The cyclotron is the device that actually produces the protons at speeds of light, many times the speeds of light, and that then is directed to the gantry, which directs the beam to the patients.
And no one's going to see these like ginormous, hard-working components. The actual treatment area is quite sleek. So what should patients expect?
It looks like the Starship Enterprise. You actually see probably about a quarter of all the gantry. The huge room has the remaining part of the gantry, and there's a whole other separate part of the vault. Again, these 6 to 8 foot thick walls that separate the spaces. That houses the cyclotron to shield the cyclotron from emitting any unnecessary rays.
So what patients will this be good for?
Certainly. Well, we're across the nation, and we'll be the 38th area and institute that has a proton center. We'll are currently treating pediatric patients, head and neck patients, patients that have tumors of the brain and spinal cord, some eye patients, and now we're expanding more to to the breast and the lung. It's very well proven as well in the prostate. So there's a lot of disease processes, especially those that are, again, in pediatrics and in recurrent cancer cases, or in cases where they're very, very near important structures where that precise delivery of radiation is so important, so you can spare the effects of radiation on the surrounding tissue.
And just your final thoughts on what this will mean for our Cancer Center program.
Sure, this is one of the most exciting parts of being in this position in the Cancer Center and being able to deliver patients the type of care they deserve and not having have them have to leave town to get that great therapy that we know is available here.
Dr. Terry Sue, always good to see you. We will let you get back to your next case. Thank you. And Bob and Tammy, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Dr. Sue had intended to go to Belgium back in late 2019 to tour the IBA headquarters there, but COVID-19 hit and travel restrictions worldwide had begun. While the trip had to be canceled, the pursuit of proton therapy never waned. Why?
Just look at the map of proton centers across the United States, and the answer's clear. The majority of the 38 centers are in eastern states. Here in the Midwest, we have been in a proton therapy desert with no centers in Kansas or surrounding states of Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, or Arkansas. But today, we are one very important step closer to changing all of that.
By providing this powerful treatment here, patients in Kansas City and all over the Midwest can stay closer to home, to family, and their support systems. Adults and children who have cancer will not be forced to travel out of the state or the region to receive life-changing proton therapy, which is exactly the story for one of our patients, 7-year-old George Langston. Bob Hallinan explains.
George Langston is a fun-loving 7-year-old who likes to ride his bike, play soccer,
Yay, buddy!
and is even brave enough to try a skateboard. But that bravery was tested last year when he and his parents noticed something strange under his left eye.
It was a little bump. It started as a little bump.
At first, the family doctor thought the bump was just from wrestling with his older brother and sister. But that bump kept getting larger till it eventually interfered with George's vision. After many doctors, tests, and even surgery, the mass under his eye was diagnosed as cancer.
For George's case, he had a localized tumor that was located adjacent to some critical structures of the eye. So by using proton therapy in his case, we were able to focus the radiation to the tumor while minimizing radiation exposure to these other healthy organs. But children are particularly suited for proton therapy because they are particularly vulnerable to the long-term effects of radiation.
George started chemotherapy, but the nearest available proton beam therapy machine was at Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. Just as they were preparing for the 425-mile trip from Olathe, with Mom and Dad alternating weeks,
thank you all for the sacrifices you've made in recent weeks.
the pandemic stay-at-home orders came out. It was a blessing in disguise, since now the whole family could go, including their 3 pets. They settled into a rental home minutes from the facility. While the older kids continued school online, Jason kept tabs on his business remotely.
Not have to worry about going to work, so it really worked out well for us to all be together.
After 50 days of treatment, the big day finally came. George's treatment was done. And he came home to a hero's welcome from family, friends, and neighbors. George was able to start school in September, and while his journey with cancer is not complete, all signs are positive.
Yeah, what would you tell another little boy or a little girl? Be brave. Be brave.
Yeah.
The Langstons believe proton therapy is a game changer for cancer patients in the metro and surrounding region.
I am so happy that it's here for people that aren't able to pick up and move across the country. It's an amazing technology.
That is truly a wonderful story, and we're so happy to learn George is doing well. Dr. Ronnie Rotondo is the medical director of proton therapy. He, together with Dr. Ronald Chen, chair of radiation oncology, wanted to give you a rare look at where the gantry and cyclotron will do their work. Naturally, we had to pre-record this interview to see inside the pit before the big lift. Jessica Lovell put on a hard hat and met both physicians inside the pit to learn more about them and proton therapy.
Hey, right, Bob and Tammy. Yep, it's true. We're down here in what they're calling the pit area. So we pre-recorded this because we wanted to show you this vantage point that will never be seen again. In fact, once the cyclotron is lowered down into this beam area, this is going to be completely bolted off, never to be seen again. So let's meet the doctors who've helped make this possible. Dr. Chen, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what is going to actually fill this space.
Well, we're actually going to fill this space with the proton equipment. There's two pieces there. One's called a cyclotron that's actually going to create the proton particles. The other one is called the gantry that's actually going to rotate so then we can target the particles to the tumor as accurately as possible. That's going to fill all this space with 125 tons of equipment.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with proton therapy.
Yes, well, I did my residency at Harvard. That's actually the place that offered one of the first proton treatments in the whole country. It started actually in 1961, but of course the technology has improved so much in the last 60 years. And I'm excited to say that we'll have the 2021 proton technology here at KU.
Dr. Rotondo, same question. Tell us about your experience with proton therapy.
So I did my residency training in radiation oncology at McGill University in Canada, after which I did a fellowship in proton therapy at Harvard University, followed by a 2-year fellowship in pediatric proton therapy in Jacksonville, Florida, at the University of Florida, after which I worked there for 6 years, treating pediatric malignancies as well as tumors of the brain, skull base, and spine, and sarcomas.
And why do you think this is mission critical to bring this therapy to our region?
Well, as the region's academic center and NCI designated cancer center, it's part of our mission to offer the best state-of-the-art cancer therapy right here at home. And for the longest time, patients have had to travel long distances to be able to get this treatment. With proton therapy here now at the health system, we'll be able to offer the state-of-the-art treatment right here at home.
And Dr. Chen, as chair of the radiation department, how does this elevate the cancer program overall?
Well, we really have an incredible cancer program here at KU. We are an NCI designated cancer center, and very soon we'll be able to offer proton therapy. There are very few cancer centers in the whole country that are both NCI designated and have protons, and we'll be able to join this very elite group of cancer centers like Harvard, like MD Anderson, so that we can offer the best treatment to patients here in Kansas City.
So we know this equipment has crossed the ocean, it's traveled hundreds of miles, but there's still a way to go before we're actually treating patients. Tell us what's next.
After installation of the gantry and cyclotron, there's another 9-10 month period of equipment installation. So those are the two largest pieces, but there are miles and miles of cabling and other equipment to be installed. Thereafter, there's a period of acceptance and commissioning, which is about another 2 months. And so after that point, we hope to be able to start treating patients in roughly a year from now or early 2022.
Dr. Chen, just a final thought on just what this moment means to you.
This is really very exciting, and I'm very proud. I think what I want to emphasize is really the dedication and commitment of the health system and the cancer center to bring the best treatment here to the patients in this area. And we continue to build, continue to strive to be the very best in the country. So I'm just very proud that this is finally going to be here so we can offer it to the patients.
Doctors, thank you both. We appreciate you very much. Bob and Tammy, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio.
Tissue-sparing precision radiation is great for all patients, but it's especially critical for children who risk long-term serious side effects from unnecessary exposure to radiation.
To better explain the benefits to our smallest patients, we invited the director of Children's Mercy Kansas City Cancer Center, Dr. Alan Gammas, to explain.
As we take care of a child with cancer, we want to offer them the best therapies possible. To have proton therapy now locally will be an amazing benefit for the families as well as our care staff. What it allows our families locally to experience is cutting-edge cancer care. For children, radiation therapy is an important treatment of their cancer, but it does carry potential long-term side effects. Proton therapy has become a new modality, and to help our children minimize those side effects, we try to steer them to a proton center. If they are able to leave town and travel, that proton therapy lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. For many families, traveling to another city is just not an option. They don't have other caregivers for their children. They don't have a job that allows them time away. And so for many families, they don't get the option of proton therapy because we don't have it locally. We hate to not be able to provide a family and a child all that they need. So to allow them to have this therapy locally without the extra burden of travel will be an amazing feeling for all of us, including myself.
Dr. Gamis echoes what our leadership and medical staff have felt as we get closer to treating our first patient. Our VP of Cancer Services here at the health system has been championing a proton therapy center for the patients we serve, but not just because of convenience. Jeff Wright knows that proton therapy is an important component of many NCI-designated cancer centers like ours, where the most complex and complicated patients come for help.
Thank you, Bob. So appreciate your comments and clearly the recognition that as we are pursuing our comprehensive designation, proton therapy is one of those therapies that we really want to make sure that all of our patients have access to at the University of Kansas Cancer Center. We've been working on this exciting proton therapy project really since 2008, and for it now to finally arrive and finally be located in our new proton therapy center, we are just so excited, not just about the complexity of the equipment and the weight of the equipment and how exciting it is to finally see it here, but really most importantly, what proton therapy will mean to our patients. We've been waiting on proton therapy dating back to about 2008 when we first started looking at proton therapy and did a lot of studies, talked to a lot of different individuals, a lot of experts, and visited a lot of different centers to really come to the decision on this new IBA technology, and also about recruiting some of the best and brightest physicians and therapists and staff to make sure we could provide world-class proton therapy to our patients. As we see many different types of therapies for patients, whether it's chemo, radiation therapy, providing immunotherapies, CAR T-cell therapies, now having proton therapy to be able to offer to our patients really puts us at that world-class level. Our new proton therapy center means so much to all of us, and while it might feel like it's a device that's just in the Department of radiation oncology, it really benefits the entire cancer program and really helps support those not just here in Kansas City, but our cancer programs from across the region now will be able to offer patients the best therapy possible for their patients. And now back to you, Bob and Tammy.
Radiation therapy is considered a gold standard for treating many cancers, but it took a century of testing and research to understand the power of radiation in treating cancers and how best to deliver it. That research continues today as delivery systems like proton therapy become more and more precise. Research will be a big part of our Proton Therapy Center, as explained by the University of Kansas Cancer Center Director, Dr. Roy Jensen.
Well, thanks, Tammy. I appreciate the ability to be on this morning. I think one of the most important things that's going to happen at the Proton Therapy Center is the expansion of our clinical trials focused in on patients where radiation therapy has played a significant role in achieving cures and better outcomes. Proton therapy is a technology which really shows incredible promise in terms of being able to limit the number of side effects that result when we treat patients with radiation, and to really determine when it's appropriate and what types of cancers that it's appropriate for. We need clinical research. And so that is one of the most important things that's going to take place in the Proton Therapy Center. One of the most important things that we need to demonstrate in our quest for comprehensive status is access to a broad range of cutting-edge technologies.
Oh, wow.
So just like CAR T therapy, proton therapy is at the cutting edge of where radiation therapy is in 2021. And we're super excited to have it come on board and to add to our armamentarium of really the state-of-the-art technology for our cancer patients. Physician scientists really are the secret sauce between an NCI-designated cancer center. What is so critical about them is that they take basic science discoveries and clinical discoveries that we can determine from the bedside and translate those into new therapeutic approaches. And the same is true for our physician scientists in radiation oncology who are working to understand how best to use proton therapy for the benefit of our patients. Thanks again for having me, and back to you, Bob and Tammy.
It is clear the medical community and patients are excited, and for good reason, about proton beam therapy finally coming to the region. But there's more beyond the health and research benefits. The region's first proton therapy center will shine a well-deserved spotlight on our community. Our authority board chair, Robba Moran, says it best. This is a big deal.
Thank you for letting me say a few words today, and thank you to all of you who are watching our big lift. We're so excited to mark another milestone in our journey to bring proton therapy to the University of Kansas Health System. Today, we are one step closer to being able to offer even more advanced treatment options to patients with the most complex conditions. Proton therapy is a big deal for Kansas City, and it's also a big deal for our entire state. When you or someone you love is faced with cancer, you should never have to worry about traveling across the country to find the care you need. By offering proton therapy here, patients will have access to the most advanced care close to home. And that care will be provided by one of the best cancer care teams in the country. I'm excited to be part of this health system for so many reasons, but one of the most important is the impact academic medicine has on the health of Kansans today and in the future. In addition to treating patients who need care now, our physicians and researchers will use proton therapy to find new ways to help even more patients. Proton therapy is going to advance cancer care in our state for years to come. I want to offer a special thank you to all of you who have generously supported this project. We are sincerely grateful for all you have done to help make proton therapy possible. Thanks again to all of you watching. I look forward to being with you next spring when we celebrate opening our center and caring for our first patients.
Thanks, Robba. Well said. As excited as we are to have this good news to share, especially during a pandemic, we also want to thank you, our community, for your generous support financially and otherwise in helping us transform cancer care.
Construction on the Proton Therapy Center started in early 2020 in the midst of a global pandemic. When it's completed, this multi-million-dollar facility will help serve our current needs with room to grow. You know, in 2019 at Treads and Threads, the proceeds went to support this construction. Then the pandemic hit, and it wasn't safe to hold our annual Party with a Purpose last year. But the community didn't hold back. They rallied, and to date, we've raised $7.8 million toward our $10 million goal. Past board chair Greg Graves wanted to say a special thank you.
Thanks, Bob. If you gave money to Treads and Threads in 2019, or especially 2020, I thank you. We have gotten to the point on the Proton Therapy Center of some of the most exciting steps. And as an engineering and construction guy, I can tell you it's very exciting to me to see the entire campus under construction again. You also heard from Bob that we're $2.2 million short of our fundraising goal to help the Proton Therapy Center open. This is going to take us that next step in making sure that no one ever has to leave Kansas City to get the very best of healthcare. Okay, back to you, Bob and Tammy.
We are tremendously excited about the opportunity to bring proton therapy to Kansas City. This opens a new chapter for cancer care in Kansas and the surrounding region, augmenting the quality care already available through our health system.
We will keep you up to date as construction continues and look forward to celebrating soon our first patients to receive proton therapy at our center on Rainbow early next year. Until then, you can watch the construction progress and learn more by going to the health system website and search proton therapy.
Thank you so much for watching. And as we say goodbye, enjoy this highlight video from the Big Lift, and we'll talk to you soon.